Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in. Now, I did say these will be up on Wednesday, but I did have some personal reprieve or relief in my personal schedule that I'm able to get this up on Tuesday for this week only. This week only, but next week they'll start to go to Wednesdays. But it is the time to give my power rankings for week 12, and this has been a crazy season, and I love it this way. So, without further ado, let's dive into it. Alright, these are my rankings from week 11, and this is how it was. Got to screenshot it. Will it be different? Let's just find out. As I always do, I start these off with teams that had a bye. You can't move if you don't play football. First team that had a bye was the Atlanta Falcons. I had them in the C. That's where they stay. I had the Colts as well as a C. I had the Patriots at the D. And I had the Saints at a C. You don't play football, you don't move. But let's just get into this week. First, we have the Arizona Cardinals coming off of a loss to Houston, Texas, where they actually played better. But I'm still going to have this team at a D for the week. Because at the end of the day, this team is just not good. That's just basic. They're just not a good football team. So I'm going to put that at a D. Next, at the Baltimore Ravens, I had that at S tier. Now, even before the Joe Burrow injury versus the Bengals, they had this game, I think, in somewhat of control. Their defense was playing some really good football. Now, it's interesting to see how the Mark Andrews injury is going to affect this offense in the future, because he is a big part of it. But Lamar Jackson's been playing some MVP level type of football. The offensive line has been playing well. They've been running the football very well. Zay Flowers is looking like a very good pickup for them as a rookie. So I'm going to put the Baltimore Ravens in an S. Next is the Buffalo Bills coming off of a win against the Jets defense, who was a very good defense. I had them in a B. I'm going to move them up to an A, even though they are the most headache team in football, in my opinion. They are just so up and down, but they made the Jets defense look bad. And I think firing Ken Dorsey so far has done some good things for this football team, which is why I have them at an A. Next, Carolina Panthers. They are just, I think Frank Reich might have took the wrong job. Who knows? They might have took the wrong quarterback, Bryce Young. Who knows? But it's still some time for them to develop. It's just not a very good football team. Not a very good football team at all. And speaking of not very good football teams, my damn sorry ass Chicago Bears. I don't even want to talk about them for too much longer. I talk about them enough. So I'll just leave my reaction to that game, that blowout, not blowout, but blown lead against the Lions on the Cards. I'm not even going to talk about it too much. Next is the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm dropping them to a B. Crazy to think, but especially with the Joe Burrow injury, what is this team going to look like? What is this team going to look like, especially offensively? Now we know that Joe Burrow is done for the year, which sucks because that was an MVP pick of mine. And I really thought I had some expectations of this Bengals team, but it just did not look good after the Burrow injury, and who knows what this team is going to be afterwards. But it sucks that Joe Burrow has to miss the rest of the year. It sucks. Next is the Cleveland Browns. I had them at an A. I'm going to keep them at the A tier. That defense is still a very good defense. Offensively, we're going to see what they're going to be with Thompson Robinson at quarterback. And that running game has been very good for them. But I think this is this team that's going to lay their hat on their defense. Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year, I think, right now. DPOY by far. Next, we are going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. I had them in an A. I'm going to keep them there because you beat the hell, well, you didn't really beat the hell out of the Carolina Panthers. This game was 17-10 hung into the fourth quarter. And you call this Dallas team a supreme football team? They haven't been playing anybody. Carolina, come on now. I mean, they're an NFL team. Don't let me disrespect it, but come on, Dallas. I can't put you at an A tier just because you beat the hell out of the Panthers. No. A tier football team. Next is the Denver Broncos. Now, this team is on a 4-game winning streak. They have been playing some really good defense ever since the 70-point loss. I'm still going to have them in a B. Mainly because they cannot convert in the red zone. That was their biggest problem last year. And Sunday night against the Vikings, that was a huge problem. They were not able to convert drives in the red zone, which made them settle for 5 field goals. Their defense has been turning the football over, playing some really good defense. They've been turning the ship around. But offensively, they have to convert some of those drives, or else that Vikings game is maybe not that close. So I have to give them a B. Next is the Lions. I mean, they did just beat my Bears. And, well, the Bears beat themselves with stupidity, but we're not going to go there. But the Lions team did not look good in the first 3 quarters, maybe 3.5 quarters. But then they started to play their own way down the stretch and won that football game. Shout out to Jared Goff for turning things around, still remaining confident outside of throwing those 3 interceptions. I hate to talk positively about this Lions team because of who they just beat, my Bears, but still at the S tier, one of the best teams in the NFC and in the NFL. Next is the Green Bay Packers. I gotta put them at a B right now. They beat a Chargers team that is a solid football team. They came back and they beat them. Jordan Love started to look better. That defense plays some okay football. So I think the Packers right now are just an okay football team. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're okay. They're average, and that's why I have them at a B. Next is the Houston Texans, coming off of another win to make this team. I want to put them at A because of my boy CJ Stroud from Beyond State. But I'm going to put them at a B for now because they had a bit of a struggle with Arizona. A bit of a struggle. CJ Stroud throwing those 3 interceptions, but he still was a poised quarterback. He still was going to throw the football, which I love from him. Despite some of the bad things that happened, I love that he steadied his ship. And DeMeco Ryans coach of the year because he has his team playing some really good football. Defensively, they have been a lot better than what I thought. So they're going to put them at a B tier for now. Jacksonville Jaguars had them in an A tier. I'm going to put the Jaguars. I'm going to put them at an S. They play some really good football. They have been on the roll lately. Trevor Lawrence has been playing some really good football. That defense led by Josh Allen. And they don't have no big names per se on that defensive side of the unit, but they just play well together. Travis Etienne, healthy, is looking like some really good player. A guy like Christian Kirk and Calvin really has been looking well, so I'm going to put them at the S tier. It's crazy for me to do it. I ain't going to say hate, but I'm going to leave them at S. And speaking of a team, I'm going to drop the Kansas City Chiefs for probably the first time this season. I just think this football team, I think the identity of them has changed. The identity of this football team is their defense. Offensively, they cannot catch the ball, albeit the Marquez Valdez-Scantling drop. And outside of Travis Kelce, they don't have any consistent weapons outside of it. Kadarius Toney may have had a good game, but his season has been inconsistent. Isaiah Pacheco has been playing really good running the football, but when it comes to those wide receiver weapons, they are not consistent at all. And that, I believe, is partly why they lost that game Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to have to put them at an A tier for now. Patrick Mahomes can't carry this team. He just cannot carry this football team all season. The weapons are going to have to step up and be consistent for them on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm going to have them in an A. The Chargers, I'm keeping them at a C. I really hate that this team is just so bad in late game situations, and Brandon Staley's seat is just completely hot. It is on fire. Along with Matt Eberflus from the Bears, they have a really hot seat with him. He just cannot close football games and make good decisions down late in stretch. Now, it's not on him that they drop the fucking ball, but man, they can't close. Next is the LA Rams, coming off of a huge win against the Seahawks. I'm going to put the Rams, I'm going to put them in a B, mainly because it's just, I think this football team is average. Puka Nacua has been turning into a real good player. Cooper Kupp has been dealing with some injuries. The running game has been solid. So I just can't put this team below average or above average. I think this right now stands at a very average football team. So I'm going to put them at a B. Next is the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to put them at a C, but they were in a very close game with a very solid Miami Dolphins team. Shout out to Antonio Pierce. He has this team playing a whole lot different than what Josh McDaniels has this team. The inspiration of him, the toughness is showing with this Raiders football team with Antonio Pierce at the helm. So I'm going to put them at a C. Next is the team they played, the Miami Dolphins. I had the Dolphins at a B. I'm going to move them up to an A. I think offensively, they are being a solid football team. Defensively, I think they're getting pieces back, and they're starting to play some really good football. So I'm going to put the Miami Dolphins at an A tier. Next is the Minnesota Vikings. Despite the loss, they were in that ball game. Defensively, this Vikings team looked really solid against the Denver Broncos. They were able to hold them to field goals. It just, they turned the football over offensively, and they were not able to convert some drives. But the Minnesota Vikings were a hot team coming in the week. I still think they are a very solid football team, despite not having Cousins. We're going to see what Justin Jefferson is back this week. So I'm going to put them at a B for now. And next is the New York Giants. Despite the win, I'm still going to have them at the D. It's Tommy DeVito had a shell of a game, a hell of a game. And that defense did play some really solid football. So even though they did win, I'm still going to keep the Giants at a D. Next is the Jets. I'm going to put the Jets at a C. They finally did what they were supposed to do and bench Zach Wilson. Even though I think some of the problems with this Jets offense is not totally on Zach Wilson, the offensive line is just banged up. And that was a problem coming into the year, even before the Aaron Rodgers injury. And it's still a problem now. They still can't run the football on a consistent basis. They are laying too much on their defense. And when you do that, which I've seen with some Bears teams in the past, so I know how that goes, eventually the defense is going to crumble when they have so much pressure put on them, and that's what the problem is with the New York Jets. Hopefully Tim Boyle can come in and play some good football for them and make this team a lot better, but for now, they're still at a C for me. Next is the Philadelphia Eagles. Offensively, they did not look necessarily great in the passing game. They were running football very solidly, especially in the second half. That defense shut out Kansas City in the second half. So I think the Eagles, are they the best team in the NFL? Maybe so. Maybe so. They have the best record in the NFL, but it's just maybe at times offensively they could look a little bit down, and especially with Jalen Hurts dealing with the knee hurtness. But I'm still going to have them at the S-tier football team. Next is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm dropping them to a B, mainly because of what they've done offensively, and they've done what a lot of Steelers fans have been clamoring for. They have fired Matt Canada as offensive coordinator. And to be honest, I saw Dan Orlovsky say this on, I think it was either First Take or Get Up, one of those two shows, that they just run plays. And they have no type of scheme, no type of game plan. And it just looks like this offense just run plays. And I'll be honest, watching this offense, I hate to say it, but I actually agree with it. Defensively, they are still a very good defense. Still a very good defense. If this offense could just come together at any type of grips, I think there would be a lot better of a football team. If Kenny Pickett can start to look like the guy, he hasn't looked like it so far. If he can start to look like the guy, maybe we can start talking about the Steelers offense. But defensively, I love where they are. It's just offensively they can't do anything. And Mike Canada was part of it, and they got rid of that problem. Next is the Seattle Seahawks. I had them at an A. I'm going to drop Seattle to a B, even though Geno Smith did get hurt during that ball game. I think running the football needs to be more of a key for this team. Geno hasn't been playing like the Geno of last year, but I didn't think he was going to replicate some of that coming into this year. But offensively, I think DK Metcalf, to me, this might be crazy, I still think that he's the most overrated wide receiver in football. He's just the most overrated wide receiver in football. But all those physical tools and all those physical gifts, I think he should be having a lot better years than what he's having. Defensively, they played some really better football. They've been playing a lot better. I like the drafting of Devin Witherspoon. He's been really good for this defense. I'm just not sold on some things that they have in this offense. Next is the San Francisco 49ers. They are starting to look like the 49ers that we saw earlier in the year, especially with the way that they dominated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a defense that's no slouch. They look dominant again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're starting to look like the team that we saw earlier because they have their weapons back and they have their weapons healthy. Dominant football team. I think right there neck and neck with the Lions and the Eagles as far as the best teams in the NFC. Next, we're going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to slide them to a C. That offense is so inconsistent. Baker Mayfield hasn't been great. He hasn't been terrible. That defense, it just hasn't been there for a lot of the portion of this season. It just has not been there. So that's why I'm going to drop them to a C. And I thought this is what they're going to lay their hats on. C. Next is the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to keep them at a C despite the loss to the Jaguars. I still like what little Levis can progress to be. I still think this team needs a rebuild. They're getting some pieces out the door, but they need more help around Will Levis. But I like the things that he can do. And some of the pieces on defensive side are like a guy like a Jeffrey Simmons. But I can't put them as one of the worst teams in football because one team I'm going to put there is the Washington Commanders. They have just been falling off of a cliff the last couple of weeks. They have not been the same football team. Sam Howell has developed, but it's just the point of trading Montez Sweat, trading Chase Young. They have not looked the same defensively since those trades. And Ron Rivera is another coach along with Brandon Staley and Eberflus, who I believe should be on the hot seat. I think it's time for change there. But these are my rankings for week 12. Leave this video a like. Comment you guys' thoughts down below. Subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.